As of late, I have been slowly but surely opening up my horizons within gaming once more. Since I've started this channel and over the past couple of years or so, I've mainly been playing shooters of all kinds. And while they are still my favourite genre personally, I felt a sense of fatigue that was long overdue. It's a feeling of really needing a change. You get to that point sometimes in life, and not just in the moment, mind you, but a part that just finally clicks and you just say, you know what? How about a platformer or a strategy game for a change? That was when I started up Risk of Rain 1 and could feel that sense of not just enjoyment, but something that was separate from my long period of mainly just playing shooters of all kinds. In the past, I played a great variety of genres when I was younger, but as I got older, I looked for more immediate action, which was where shooters came in, and I got ingrained into this loophole where I would just keep playing them, which meant that I never really made time for other favorites from other favorite genres. But now that the spell has been broken, I can finally cover other games should I choose to, and have more to talk about overall, including in-depth subjects should I choose to. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about a small but replayable game that captivated me when I had first started playing it. A game that made me appreciate its simple but relaxing premise. A game all about flight stretched across the infinite, through procedurally generated levels and color schemes. That game is Superflight. Superflight is a game developed and published by Grizzly Games, a studio founded by 3 game design students from HTW Berlin. During the 3 months development of this game, they would take both an analog and digital approach to brainstorming ideas for the game that they would eventually make. They took the concept of both gliding and procedurally generated levels, creating essentially a simple but infinite experience that can either relax or challenge the player, using the game engine Unity, everyone's favourite pinata in the game dev community, to take a swing at this year, and Blender. They would cobble up a number of essential ingredients to get the game gliding. With the 3D models, they would create a low-poly assembly of blocks and structures with Blender that would seamlessly be a part of the procedural generation. On top of that, they would also have colour schemes that would generate alongside each level that you come across. The player movement and the sense of gliding, and of course, the art style, which kind of reminded me of the PS2 era to some extent. The game would receive a lot of feedback to the point that they would eventually get the green light approval they needed to get the game onto Steam, making it available to everyone else to enjoy. In 2017, the game was released on Steam and has a string of positive reviews. People had enjoyed the simple premise and the game's understanding of smooth flight mechanics that this game revolves around. There's no story, no endgame, or curtains closing, but something that can last for as long as you want it to. Say if you're tired from work and you don't want to think whatsoever, but you don't want to watch TV either and want some form of interactivity, this game is one of those, where the only thing you have to do is fly, or more accurately, glide. Your character begins descending down the maze of structures, abstract and nameless blocks that reward you with points should you get something like a near miss or a combo, or go through a really tight hole. You can make the run hard and risk it all, or just relax and glide your way down to a nearby portal that takes you to another world, or down into the clouds that does the same thing. Only difference is you don't get any points for doing that, but you do with the portals. The scoring system is there for players that want to get more competitive with the game or just want to pursue it as a personal goal. There are also achievements, but they're easy to get anyways. When it comes to replayability, it just depends on what you want out of a game. People can sink thousands of hours into multiplayer games like Counter-Strike, or other games like Minecraft and Terraria because of the amount of content that's generated by the community on top of what's already there. And then there are those that play games like Geometry Dash because of the addictive loop and the desire to beat your own score. Superflight does satisfy that desire, but what you see here is what you get. You can put a few hours in and call it a day and then move on, or just play the game to your heart's content. There's a review that I found from a player that had over 20,000 hours on this game, which is insane. But it also goes to show that even simple but relaxing games can have a great deal of replayability for some people. It has both the scoring system to encourage you to play better and the option to just let you play however you want. In fact, there's even a Zen mode that doesn't show you the points, you just earn them in the background. There's no music to speak of, but instead you have the dynamic noise created from the flying alone, creating a sense of atmosphere into the relaxing session. You can, however, play whatever music you want, so it's up to you really. Graphically, it's quite pleasing for a low-poly styled game. The variety of colours always gives you a different atmosphere and backdrop, not to mention that each level change also has different structural changes to the buildings, so that it's not too repetitive while still being seamless. It gave me somewhat of a 2000s flashback where you had games with abstract structures while still having somewhat of a low-poly appearance to them. It's hard to describe otherwise, but it really stood out to me when I was playing it, and I think they did a fantastic job with what they used, and how they seeded the levels and colors into an infinite span. It's something to commemorate when you factor in that this was done by 3 people in the span of 3 months. Speaking of seeds, you can create your own that will then generate a map with colors that other players can find if they type in the same name of the seed, if you give them the name, that is. On the matter of movement, it feels both natural and smooth. You can go up to break momentum or go down to increase speed, but either way you'll eventually be descending down along the buildings. When you crash, your run ends and you start at the level that you're in, with all your points wiped. Of course though, if you don't care about the points, then you can basically just trial and error your way through the experience until you've decided that you've had enough. Superflight is an amazing flight game that is simple and highly replayable. With the endless variety of levels, the great movement, and the pleasing art style, makes this game overall a small gem out of many others. If you're expecting more from the game, then you're going to be disappointed because it's quite simplistic in its design. But if you're not looking for anything more, where you don't have the energy or patience to think like in the Talos Principle, or to play a complex game like Dwarf Fortress, then Superflight has you covered. It's also very cheap and costs a can of Coke pretty much. Could more be added? Sure, but for what was made in 3 months by 3 people, it's a damn good game. There's even an unofficial modding scene where people have made mods for it. There aren't that many, but it's a starting point to help expand the game long after the devs have moved on from it. It's a great game that knows what it is and gives you only one thing to help you chill for the rest of the day, and that is the freedom of flight. Definitely pick this game up, it's worth every penny. Thank you for watching.